Alright, we're going to go ahead and get started on part of our build here. On page 8 is where we're going to start here. And on page 8, one of the first things that you see is a little tool, which is a little tool that will help you aid in installing the M5 lock nuts. And there's a lot of lock nuts that get pushed into certain parts, and this little tool helps. We'll also show you a couple other tricks that we use. The part number is 85459, and it's actually located in the parts bag. So we're going to go ahead and open up the parts bag and get this little tool out and show you what it's all about. We always like to just cut off the top of our plastic bags so that we can keep several things stored in there. The tool that we're looking for is located in, I believe it's this little bag here. It is. And it's this teeny tiny little nub right here. Basically it'll fit inside of a lock nut, and you can use your pliers or use an Allen wrench to get the little nuts in. So there's other parts in this bag. We're going to go ahead and carefully take out the little piece and set it aside so that we can use it. If you're using the HPI supplied tools, you're going to go ahead and take out all the tools and lay them out on your bench so that you can get to them as needed. I think really the only tools that we're going to be interested in at this point are a couple of the Allen wrenches. If you've got another set of Allen wrenches, then go ahead and use them instead, and we're going to go ahead and start the build. I'm quickly going to go over the manual and how to read the manual as HPI has it laid out. Once you get used to how they have it laid out, it is much easier. What we're going to notice is on the left hand side of the page, it's going to generally tell you which bag numbers we're working on. In this instance, it's bag number A, and it's going to say open bag A. And from within that bag, it's going to show us what products that we're going to use. In this case, we're using part number Z665, which are lock nuts M5, and you're going to see an X8, which means that there's 8 of those to be used in this particular step of the build. As you go down, you'll also see that we'll be using 2 of the M5 30mm cap screws and 2 of the M5 16mm flathead. As we go over to another page, it's going to show us here that we're working with bag B and the parts used, and then the steps in the sequence that they need to be done in going down the other side here. So once you start reading it and looking at the manual, you'll see that it is fairly easy to follow once you figure out how it's laid out. So let's go ahead and get your manuals open, and we're going to dig right into this project. Alrighty, let's go ahead and start our build. As we look at the manual, the first bag we're going to be using is bag A. There's several things that are inside bag A, so we're going to use a little tray that we have. This is a magnetic tray that we've been using. However, you can use little bowls, you can use dishes, you can just use your workbench to lay stuff out on, but we kind of like to keep everything in a container so that we can get at it. So we're going to go ahead and open up bag A here and take out the parts that we need. There are several parts in here that we won't be using until later on in the build. So let's peruse over the manual and figure out what it is that we need and don't need for this portion of the build. We're going to, at this point, need our M5 lock nuts, and we're also looking for, at this point, some nuts and bolts that are in there. The rest of this stuff, as you can see, if you look on the first few pages of the directions, are parts that we're not going to be using quite yet. So we're going to go ahead and put those back into bag A so that they don't get misplaced. We will be using that part. HPI has also given us some Loctite, so we're going to go ahead and set that aside and go from there. going to open up our nuts and bolts bags, put them on our tray. Always double check your bags to make sure that they are empty and that there's nothing in there. And we're all set to go. Some people really like to use different screw sets than what come with the kit. There are a couple different brands on the market. One of the brands that you can buy at Team Fast Eddy is a stainless steel screw set put out by RC Screws. You can buy those at teamfasteddy.com. That comes in a nice case. It contains all the nuts and bolts, everything that you're going to need to do the build. And they are a real nice stainless steel, high-grade stainless steel kit. And they are silver, which really makes the screws pop in the build rather than using black ones. However, today we are following the stock build for the Baja SS, so we're just going to go ahead and use the screws and nuts and bolts that came with the kit. The directions are also telling us, if you take a look, that we're going to be using 8 pieces of Z665, which are 5mm lock nuts. So we're going to go ahead and take those from our bag, and we're going to get 8 of them. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. I'm going to go ahead and put those off to the side. And the directions are also telling us that we're going to be using 2 number 94710, which is an M5 by 30 cap head screw, which I believe are these right here. You can always, if you're not quite sure about the lengths and don't want to grab your calipers, you can always get the manual. And the manual on the parts for the screws are generally very, very close, so you can hold that up and you can see that that is the proper screw to use. It makes it easier rather than getting out your calipers if you're just not sure. So we're going to go ahead and set those 2 aside, and we're also going to be using 2 number 947330, which are M5 by 16 flatheads, and those are these little guys right here. And a flathead is flat on the top and beveled, as compared to a cap screw, which has a cap on the top. So we're going to go ahead and set those off to the side, and the rest of the hardware we're going to go ahead and save for later on in the build. The directions are also telling us that we need to find our tree number 86418, and that is the bulkhead tree. It's called the front bulkhead set, and we are going to use pieces number 2, which is the bulkhead, piece number 3, which is a support, and piece number 4 off of the tree, like we explained earlier. Their numbers are stamped on the tree, so we will not be using this portion, which is piece number 1, which is your front brace.